It is the year 2026, and we have a plethora of female leadership across the United States of America, from councilwomen to congressmen, representatives, mayors, the whole right? CEOs, things like that. People that do speaking engagements, they're speakers, that do TED Talks, all kind of stuff. We have a plethora, we have plenty of female leadership and representation across the United States of America. And we have become the example across the world, have we not? But we also still have a problem with female leadership, especially men, to be specific for this video. And nobody talks about the reason that we have a problem with it. Now, it's not every female leader, okay? But there is a stereotype when it comes to female leadership, and that exists. As I always say, stereotypes exist for a reason.
He ain't lying.
Now, this video, I want to react to triggernometry. They had Adam Carolla on here, as you see. He is a podcaster, actor, and comedian, and he has a particular view or I guess perspective on female leadership. The title of the video is about I believe was the word. Let me look it up here. It is gyno-fascism and why nobody's talking about it. So we're going to react to this. Of course, this is on YouTube, so I get my fair use clause before we start the reaction. And if you haven't done so already, hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you want to further donate to the channel, of course, you can hit the join button down below to become a part of the union. I have members on the videos down below, and I will continue to interact with the members of the channel. And of course, you can hit the Cash App $, Mr. Normie, because I do this for fun, but I also do this for funds, all right? Let's see what Mr. Carolla has to say.
So one thing we're not talking about that we should be.
Gyno-fascism. I figured you'd make that look. It's something I've been thinking about a lot over the last 20 years. We need more women in positions of power. We need more women making the calls and calling the shots. We need a woman president. We need a woman prime minister. We need more feminine presence, everywhere. And LA is mostly women, city council. We have a female mayor, and we don't get anything done.
Now, one of my best friends, he describes some certain situations, certain cities called the dark triad, if you will. And this is a phrase used for a certain type of personality. But the dark triad here would be the governor, a mayor, and probably the chief of police. All right, if you have these three things, usually this city is not ran very well. Now, and these women don't necessarily have to be Democratic or liberal. It's just their way of thinking and how they do things, how they conduct themselves, or how they conduct business of their cities or states or whatever townships they're in, things like that, okay? Usually they have a certain mindset or a certain way of doing things that is not conducive to the safety or prosperity of the citizens that they govern, all right? And it's becoming more apparent every day how these things turn out. And corruption, if you will. You say men are corrupt. We've seen several cases where women have either abused power, they've embezzled funds, they've scammed people and things like that. I mean, one example, look at Tiffany Henyard. Look at who else? The woman from New Orleans, the mayor of New Orleans. There's plenty of, or look at the reaction of Karen Bass and I think the hurricanes or the wildfires that happened a little while ago. Responses, corruption, scams, you name it, right? And again, like I said, for the sake of argument, men do this too, right? But you are starting to see it more and more with the female leadership of the United States of America. Let's continue.
Started to really think about there's a difference between the male brain and the female brain. And the male brain wants to do stuff go, go, go. If you want to know the difference between the male brain and the female brain, Karen Bass and Donald Trump got together 3 days after the fires. And Donald Trump was like, let's get going, move, clean up those lots. Let's get building. And she was like, slow it down. Slow it down. She is.
Now remember that Donald Trump actually went down to California, and they had some type of kind of town hall kind of meeting. Either it was right after the fires were extinguished or while the fire was in its still stages of burning. And Donald Trump sat down, and it's almost like they had they had really essentially an argument. Donald Trump was like, well, we can get the dumpsters in. Why don't we let these people bring their own dumpsters in, because they're ready to start cleaning their own properties right away. What Karen Bass was doing, she was prohibiting the people from going back to their own houses to clean up on their own with their own money, because they would have got done faster. Karen Bass wanted to bring the city in to clean up, which would have took weeks. And they really didn't have the money. Well, it seems that they either didn't have the money or the complete resource that they needed to help every, citizen that was affected. Donald Trump was like, well, why don't we let some of these people, why don't we let everybody handle it however they want? If they want the city's help, then cool, they can wait for it. But some of these people were able to afford to do their own cleanup and get it done faster so they can rebuild faster. Karen Bass like, wait a minute, let's go the city route, the government route, and let us do it, and then they can come return to their property and get it after we're done cleaning up. There's no telling how long that would have taken. And this is part of the point that he's trying to make.
Process person. And women are more likely to be process people. They talk, they want to talk it out, they want to work, they want to have a meeting, and they want to break off and have another meeting, and then we put together a blue ribbon panel. And so in LA, we have a homeless problem. And the homeless problem keeps getting worse every year, but we keep having more conversations and more panels and more groups, but it's mostly women, and nothing ever gets enacted. And we are heading toward a society that used to be men, testosterone. And by the way, I'm not making this up. You're going to see more articles and stuff coming out that the feminine mind is different, and the feminine mind is also satiated by actually discussing the thing. So if we're sitting here and, you're going, we should take this and move this wall and do a thing. The feminine mind actually feels like we did something, whereas the male mind is like, we haven't done anything. We just keep talking about this thing that we're not doing, and it's frustrating versus satiating. So the feminization is causing a huge shift in our culture.
And he's right. And again, this isn't every woman. I got to say this, not every woman. But what he's trying to say is that there are a lot of women out there that instead of actually just saying, we're just going to start and then we can get rid of all the details later, but because we need to get something done right away. And again, this doesn't always work, okay? Moving first before having a plan, it definitely doesn't always work. But in situations where decisions need to be made right away, where we need forward momentum on a problem, and then we are able to do that first and then kind of get the particulars and kind of tweak it as we go. No, women typically want to, like he said, have meetings and have this perfect plan of how to get something done. And if it doesn't seem that way, then they keep kicking the can down the road while they're trying to get the details together. And like you said, eventually nothing gets done. I mean, we can say, what about the husband story, right? We heard that story where they keep going to a different floor and a different floor and a different floor trying to get the perfect guy, and then at the end they get nothing. Well, take that story or that example and put it to everyday business, to where you keep trying to make a better plan and make it to where it's perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be completely right. You're going to fail somewhere because you don't want to fail and you don't want to look bad, especially when it comes to versus a man. You're trying to make this perfect plan so it looks great and it's pretty and everybody likes it. Well, how long is that going to take? I mean, again, get it done versus let's sit around and make a plan, and then, okay, we're going to plan how to do this part. We're going to plan how to do this part. Then we're going to plan to do this part. Then we're going to have a plan how to put all those parts together. And then we're going to have a press conference to say we got this big old plan to get it done. And meanwhile, the citizens are waiting for what is it, crime or emergency services or some type of funding program, whatever. It doesn't matter. It just, there's different ways about doing it. And yeah.
We just got crushed by COVID, especially in Los Angeles, because we had a female health director. And by the way, men can be stricken with this. Gavin Newsom's a pussy, and Eric Garcetti, our former mayor.
Whoa. Hold on. Let me get my laughter. Where is it?
I better get some more.
Not that one. Where's this one? Yes.
Nick, you're stupid.
I gotta rewind that because he said these guys are what? He said men can be stricken with this too. Whoa, Gavin Newsom, shots fired.
chicken with this. Gavin Newsom's a pussy, and Eric Garcetti, our former mayor. Justin Trudeau thinks like a chick. You can tell, watch them cross their legs. Watch Obama and Trudeau and Newsom. When they cross their legs, it's a full chick. And they're signaling, they're presenting. They're going, I have chick dick. So it's a thing. It's happening. It's going to happen. And it will fuck up.
By the way, he's also a comedian, so take his opinion as a grain of salt, but we can use this as a slight example of how things are actually going in America.
Society, because if something like COVID comes around, their plan is nobody leaves their house, shut all the schools. I'm done here. That's not how do we work. How do we deal with the danger? Dealing with the danger is shut down. Barbara Ferrer, the health whatever crazy witch who ran this town, her plan was just shut it down. Rochelle Walensky, CDC, just nothing. Just.
I remember this one right here, and she was one of the main ones that were talking about trust the science and all that. Now, by the way, you can criticize, Donald Trump for how he handled it as well on his way out. But once Biden got in office, this one right here, the CDC director, she was on all these news channels, the mainstream media, and she was telling everybody trust the science, the mask, and all this stuff, which I won't get into for YouTube guideline purposes. But the plan was not to actually, how do we keep society going, but basically shut society completely down while we try to extinguish this threat, which never fully got extinguished. It just kind of turned into a non-threat somehow, right? Because it didn't go away, right? We just figured out better ways to handle it as it went on. But in my opinion, the way that we should not have handled it was the way that it was dealt with.
It all down. And by the way, lie if you have to keep it shut down. So there is a gyno-fascism that's sort of coming, and it was a lot of years of like, well, if we just had women in charge, we wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have crime, we'd have a better society. People would
see Hillary Clinton.
Enemy spotted.
No, it is not. Los Angeles is basically run by women and is run into the ground. And there's a problem. There's going to continue to be a problem, and we'll see it growing. You'll see more articles on it. There'll be more tests on it, and it'll be less, Adam is just spouting off because he's a misogynist. No, it's a mindset. It's a female mindset and a male mindset, and it's skewing toward the female, and our society is going to suffer.
So there was a lady who wrote a viral article about this called Helen Andrews.
Yes.
I take it you read it.
I did, because everyone sent it to me,
Right.
because I went, this is what you've been saying for 20 years, and we're here. We're going here. And you go, oh, Adam, you're such a douche, knuckle dragon misogynist. No, women are writing articles on this. There is a difference between men and women, and there's a balance, and it's a good balance. It's a husband and a wife and a child and a home. When you skew it too far the other direction, the feminine direction, there's going to be consequences. That's going to be our future.
That is going to be our future, and to be honest with you, it's damn near already here. Yes, it is. Thank you, Adam Carolla, for that opinion. I tend to agree, all right? There should be a balance. Too much of anything is a bad thing, right? And for better or for worse, men were in charge for a reason. I don't disagree with female leadership, but the oversaturation of it, in my opinion, has not had good consequences for our country. But that's just me. And for other organizations, corporations, governments, lesser state and city governments, for other businesses, the oversaturation of female leadership has not been good, right? Not to say that you shouldn't have any female leadership, but it's become very much, like I said, overly important for some reason. And, well, see where we are. And with that being said, thank you for attending another episode of the Working Man Podcast. I am your host, Nicholas J. Fury. Let me know what you think about Adam Carolla. What he had to say, is him and myself just knuckle dragging Neanderthals, or was he onto something? All right, let me know what you think about it down in the comment section. And please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell. We're out of the door, and I will see you on the next video.